In Houston, they're your premium threader for the oil and gas industry. Call 713-645-8422 or visit them online at cti.com. That's Custom Threading, proud to sponsor this important message here at KBME.
You're on.
Yo, what's up, y'all? This is Common right here, and you are now in tune with Sports Rap Live right here on Sports Talk 790 AM, iHeartRadio. Y'all stay in tune with it. All right? Love.
Yo, Common, you're not the only one tuned in to Sports Rap Live tonight. Shout out to Spring Branch Mexican, who caused some great laughs on Sunday night, as I called him South Park Mexican.
Mexicano!
Hell yeah. Shout out to the Houston Media Watch creeps. They're out there listening, of course.
They're out there creeping.
They are always creeping, always creeping. And some of our other listeners, who check in. We got Hardcore in the building tonight. He's doing his damn thing here in H-Town. Happy for him. The Rapp Pack is definitely starting to fill up here in the Sports Rap Lounge. Yep, Scandal's in the house, of course. And my man YO713, Ralph G, straight back from
Dirty
the flats.
Nasty.
Yep, Dirty and Nasty. Well, one half of. I saw the other half earlier, picking up tickets for Fly Fest, which is coming up soon. So, speaking of coming up soon, this Sunday, the Far Side is going to be at Numbers. Now, if you haven't seen the Far Side in a while, man, it'll take you back to the golden era of hip-hop. So we're going to get a caller to call in after this segment. You can call in now if you want to get those tickets at 713-212-5790, just like our good friend and next guest, our new bestie, who's back on the line with Sports Rap Live, especially with National Signing Day, or as some like to call it these days, National Sneaker Deal Day. Your latest column on CBSSportsline.com has been posted by our good friend, Gary Parrish. How are you, G?
I'm good, man. You guys all right?
Man, we are rocking and rolling over here, of course. We got a lounge full of friends here at Junction Bar and Grill, so we're happy to have you joining us in spirit and on the line. We also have our good friend Maurice Bob from Slam Magazine, who keeps his eye on all these players that you cover over there 10 years in college when they get to the NBA. So he's going to ride along with us because he was covering the Final Four and all of the March Madness for Nike basketball. So if you don't mind, he's going to jump on with us as well.
No, I'm good, man. I'm glad he's here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm going to start right here. What did you make of the NCAA's decision to essentially fire Greg Shaheen, who was the head of the NCAA tournament after he served that position for over 10 years?
I don't know the inner workings of it, and I think it's very easy to sit back from a distance and say that it's stupid because, man, it looks stupid. I hope, for their sake, that there's more to it than we understand, because otherwise they've just removed, at least in my opinion, the smartest guy they had in the building. I mean, Greg is somebody who I obviously dealt with a lot because I cover college basketball, and he was in charge of the men's basketball tournament. But in terms of, so many times you sit down with people from the NCAA, and they're so, just sort of bought into their way of thinking that they refuse to look at an outsider's view or even in some cases acknowledge that it exists. And Greg is somebody who you could always talk to, and he might at the end of it say, you know what, I just think you're wrong. But he would listen to you, and he would admit when you know what, I think you might have a point. I mean, and so I appreciate anybody who's like that. And the idea that they would just toss him to the side the way they did, I just hope for their sake that there's more to it that we just can't possibly understand, because from where I'm sitting and from where you guys are sitting, it seems inexplicable.
Hey, Gary, it's Andrew. I have a question about Mark Lewis, who's the guy that's going to be taking over his position, Greg Shaheen's old position. The last thing this guy ran was something called Jet Set Sports. Can you talk a little bit about what the expectations are for Mark Lewis and what he has to kind of follow through, after Greg Shaheen?
Well, it's going to be tough for him because Greg, as you guys have seen on Twitter this week, Greg had a lot of friends in the media, and it's because he made himself accessible. He wasn't like sitting on some ivory throne in Indianapolis. He was just a normal guy you could sit down and have a drink with, sit down and have a meal with. He would tweet back at you. I mean, he didn't try to separate himself from the rest of the world. And so I don't know anything about the new guy other than what I've read. I've never met him, obviously, but he's got some big shoes to fill. And I'm willing to give him a chance because I think everybody deserves a chance. But if he's as good as Greg Shaheen, I'll be surprised because Greg was not just with the NCAA, but in terms of people, connected to this industry one way or another who do their job, he was among the best at doing their job very, very well.
Well, hey, one guy that does his job very, very well in high school was Nerlens Noel. And, of course, CBS Sports' own #1 recruit announced that he's going to Kentucky with the school logo shaved into his head. Gary, talk a little bit about Noel's game and how you would announce your school selection if you could go back in time.
He's terrific. I mean, I saw the kid for the first time last year, and I know this sounds crazy, but at this time last summer, you would have said he's the best. If you would have saw him last summer, you would have said he's the best shot blocker you've ever seen. Now, given that what we just saw with Anthony Davis, it seems irresponsible on some level to suggest he could be that same thing, because suggesting that means being the National Player of the Year and winning a national championship. That's a hell of a bar to try to measure up to. But this kid's special. He's a future #1 pick in the NBA draft, just like Anthony. And I don't want him to have to be measured next to Anthony, because again, that's very difficult. But he's legit. He's the real deal, and he's going to be terrific at Kentucky. The hair thing was, that's just where we're at these days. I know some people think it's too much. I laughed at it. I have a good time with it. I've always said this. If I could go back and announce my college decision, I would do it live on television, of course. And rather than, put on a hat or shave a logo into my head, I would have, let's say I'm going to commit to Kansas. I would have on Kansas boxer shorts, and I would stand up from my table, and I would drop my pants and stand there with my arms up in the air like a world champion, and just be standing there in nothing but Kansas boxer shorts.
My man, that's swag.
I don't even know how you transition from that, but I want to ask you about the CBS #2 and 3 guys, Shabazz Muhammad and Kyle Anderson, and they have signed their letters of intent to go for play for Ben Howland over at UCLA. What kind of chances does that give UCLA next year of making it to Atlanta in the Final Four?
I mean, you got to have players to get there, and they're going to have players clearly. I'd like to think that Josh Smith will get in shape as well, but I think it's probably wishful thinking. He sort of is what he is. But, Kyle Anderson and Shabazz they're different kinds of players, but they're both elite-level players, future pros. And I don't think it's a secret. You guys know this as well as I do. Ben's got to win next year. He's not going to be the coach at UCLA the year after that. And he's got the roster to do it. They're going to be the Pac-12 favorite. And, Shabazz is going to probably miss some games for NCAA issues. But he'll be back, at some point pretty soon. And he's just terrific. I mean, it's very rare that a kid is immensely talented and the hardest worker on the court. That's just not usually the way it goes. But that's the way it is with him. The same way people talk about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist's motor, it just never stops. Shabazz has that kind of motor. He's an aggressive scorer. And when you put him with a very cerebral, big, I don't want to call him a point guard because he's not a natural point guard, but a big ball-handling playmaker in Kyle Anderson, that's a pretty devastating backcourt, and Ben's going to have a good time coaching those guys.
What do you think drove Shabazz to choose UCLA over Kentucky? A lot of us had him going to UK because he's a surefire one-and-done type of player. What do you think? Was it him wanting to blaze his own trails? What do you think drove him to the land of La La Land?
Well, I think LA is LA, and that's attractive on a lot of different levels. UCLA is UCLA, that's attractive. Renovated Pauley Pavilion, that's attractive. UCLA's been in there for a long, long time. That mattered. He's from Vegas, so going all the way across the country to Kentucky is, that really separates you from your family. So LA makes some sense there. But, and I wrote about this last night. I don't think it's any secret in basketball circles. Adidas has been in there deep with Shabazz and people around Shabazz for a long, long time. And I would never go so far as to say he picked UCLA strictly because of Adidas, because I think that's overstating it. But do I think the Adidas affiliation played a role in his decision to go to UCLA? I think anybody would be naive to suggest otherwise. It absolutely played a role, and it plays a role in a lot of things. Nike plays a role in a lot of kids. Under Armour sometimes plays a role in kids. It just so happens that in this case, UCLA benefited in a big way from the Adidas connection.
As Fran Fraschilla said, 3 stripes and you're out.
Exactly, and he's right. Again, I wrote about it last night. It's the reality of college basketball recruiting. I mean, we try to, and not you and I, but people out there sometimes try to trick themselves into thinking that kids care about the things that they might care about, tradition and facilities and coaching style and all that style of play. And some of that stuff matters, and some of it matters a lot to certain people. But at the end of the day, I mean, the truth is this. Shoe companies play a major role in deciding where the elite, or at least in figuring into where the elite prospects end up going, as so do agents, so do runners, so do financial advisors. At the very top of recruiting, it's a complicated business.
All right, Gary, we're going to try to get you out on this one. Try and keep it local as well. Baylor, how lucky are they to only get caught with the phone call situation? And if Scott Drew were to leave, what's the program that he would leave to? Is there an ideal dream job for him?
Well, I don't know that there's an ideal dream job. I mean, he's got it set up pretty nice right now at Baylor. And, I wrote this early in the week. If I don't care who you are, what program you're at, if you recruit high major players and you're running a high major program, and at this point Baylor is a high major program recruiting high major players, if you're investigated for years and the most they end up hitting you with is phone calls, I mean essentially phone calls and text messages, you should throw a damn party because you just got through it. It's a little bit like being audited by the government. I mean, they're going to find something. I mean, I got an accountant who handles my taxes, but if I get audited, I suspect that the government's going to have some questions for me. Well, Scott and Baylor, they essentially got audited, and they came out of it about as well as you can. No real significant scholarship losses, no postseason ban. And, I talked to that staff, and I don't know that they feel good about it. They don't. But they feel good knowing that this has been going on since 2008, and it is now effectively behind them, and they can move forward. The unknown is now off the table. They know what they're dealing with, and relatively speaking, it's not that big of a deal. And so if I'm Baylor, I feel pretty good about it. As far as Scott and a dream job, listen, LSU made some sense on some level, but I don't think LSU is going to do that with the NCAA stuff happening. He's from Indiana, so if that ever popped up, maybe there. But he's a very religious man. Baylor makes some sense for him, and I suspect he's going to be there for a little while.
Hey, Gary, this is Kadoma, the swag coach of the crew. Just want to chime in and kind of reiterate what you said about sneakers playing a huge deal and where players sign. We can remember, seems like just a few short years ago, LeBron was a big, heavy Adidas guy coming out of an Adidas school before he signed the biggest shoe deal of all time with Nike.
No, that's true. But I would say this. At the end of the day, when it comes time for kids to sign that professionals to sign a professional apparel deal, then at the end of the day, there used to be this belief that, the shoe companies would try to develop relationships with Kevin Durant early or LeBron early so that they could get them, later. Well, at the end of the day, whoever puts the most money on the table later is going to be who gets them. A kid could have no relationship with Reebok and a brilliant relationship with Adidas, and if Reebok offers $90 million, the other company offers $70, well then, he's going to be a Reebok kid for $90 million. So LeBron, at the end of the day, just took the best deal available, which is the Nike deal. And I suspect that's the way it goes everywhere. But when it comes to colleges, I don't think Nike and Adidas ever get so, blunt as to say, we need you to go here. But clearly, they got their fingers in you for a while, and they present a very convincing case of why it might be in your best interest to maybe stay loyal to the brand, whether the brand's Adidas, Under Armour, Nike, or whatever. And again, that doesn't go on with every kid in America. We see cross two lines all the time. But at the very top of the top, the Anthony Davises, the Shabazz Muhammad, it absolutely goes down like that a lot of times.
Absolutely, and it goes down like this every Thursday and Sunday night on Sports Rap Live. Hey, Gary, thanks once again for joining us. As the playoffs rapidly approach in the NBA and we get closer and closer to that draft, we want to get your insight on some of the players that you'll see getting these big shoe deals and these big NBA contracts. So we appreciate it. As always, checking in. Follow him on Twitter at Gary Parrish with 2 R's, CBS. And we'll talk to you real soon, my man.
You guys are awesome, man. Good to talk to you. I'll see you later.
Absolutely. Swag. All right, we got to take it to Thank you very much. We got to take it to the top of the hour. On the other side, we got to keep our eye on the diamond with the Major League Baseball talk, including your Houston Astros and their 50th anniversary celebration that happened this week. So you guys stick around. We'll be right back on Sports Rap Live.